بهذا الموضوع وما يوقفوا. وكمان دانييلا شددت على إنها حابة تعمل نقاش معكم على كيف ممكن هذا الإشي يتوسع أكثر، وشو ممكن يعملوا كمان عشان يضلهم على علاقة معكم، اللي هو المجتمع الفلسطيني في تشيلي والمجتمع الفلسطيني هون، وخصوصا إنه إحنا عندنا شغلة مشتركة في الاضطهاد وفي الاحتلال. Thank you. Now we're going to move to the next speaker, which is Melissa Su, and she's going to talk about water, land, and justice from Standing Rock to Palestine. Please go.
Hi everybody, my name is Melissa So. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because I too was very much enjoying the discussion and hearing your voices, the students' opinion, and I think that's what matters, the most here today. And okay, can you hear me? Great. So, like you said, my name is Melissa, and I am a Native American from America, what you would call the United States, and I come from the tribe called Nanea, and I've been a lead organizer with the Red Nation for the past 3 years. So the Red Nation, what we do is activist work, and we fight for indigenous life and land over in America, and also like solidarity work with international struggles. So what we want is to liberate, natives from capitalism and colonialism through direct action, advocacy, mobilization, and education. So I'm going to jump right into the most recent mass mobilization we've had, and that was Standing Rock, which was in the year 2016. And there were thousands of people who gathered on the Standing Rock Indian Sioux Reservation, which is in Cannonball, North Dakota, in the United States. And what they were trying to do is stop the construction of a pipeline that was 1,172 miles long. And the pipeline was meaning to carry half a million gallons a day of crude oil in the interest of capitalism. And the problem here was that, it cut through ancestral lands of the Standing Rock Sioux. And people from all over the United States came to protest this, including a Palestinian delegation. So we very much felt solidarity there. And I also recognize there are a lot of parallels between the indigenous Americans and the indigenous Palestinians here. What we do see, from the different atrocities happening in Native communities back home are, we see like the fossil fuel industry profiting from the backs of Native life and land. We still see the U.S. empire occupying Native territory or Native land there. It's not a post-colonial thing there. It's in the process. We still feel that we are under occupation, and through different policies, we still see the United States government trying to erase our people and trying to eliminate us, there's the problem of climate change and that impacting the environment, and through digging for oil and gas, drilling for it, we see environmental racism because oftentimes they try to get that in near native lands, which is they call reservations. So they're kind of like territories here, in the sense that like the United States says, here's this piece of land, like you can use this but and then also like you're a sovereign nation, but we're really not a sovereign nation. We are actually, it's actually the United States leasing land to us. And so we also see like state violence. We saw that happening a lot at Standing Rock. Like there were, rubber bullets being used. Like one woman, she had to have her arm decapitated because of a wound to the arm. There were attacked dogs, and there's all kinds of health hazards there. And so, from this discussion I got before lunch, I saw that, what's happening here, the major problem that is preventing resistance is the silencing of political, dissent. And then it's also like a security threat for a lot of Palestinians. And I would have to say that, hearing the student opinions, hearing the students share how they are organizing here was my favorite part of the conference so far. A lot of my colleagues have the same feedback. And everyone's voice in this room is just as important as people who are sitting in positions of power. And we want to continue, collaborating, hearing what you have to say. And I think one of the major issues is language barrier. So we do need to break down that some way, somehow. Hopefully, that's why I see, translators as a very important piece in the movement, how, in regards to us exchanging ideas. And so I printed out some of our 10-point program in English, and also I did an Arabic copy. I don't know if it's correct translation. I think I might have had a bad translating system to do that, but if you would like to see a 10-point program for the Red Nation, just come up to me. And the last thing I want to share with you is just free Palestine.
Thank you, Melissa, again. So a few remarks on what Melissa said. Melissa is a Native American from a tribe called Dana. ميليسا هي من الأمريكيين الأصليين من قبيلة اسمها دانا. وهي حبت تحكي كيف إنه برضو الأمريكيين الأصليين عانوا زي الفلسطينيين باليو اس. وحكت عن كيف اليو اس وقفت ضدهم في construction of a pipe. كان في أنبوب للبترول. اليو اس وقفت لهم هذا الكونستراكشن وما خلتهم، بس هم عملوا بروتست، عملوا احتجاجات على هذا الاشي زي الفلسطينيين، بس برضو تعرضوا الاتاكس من اليو اس، تعرضوا للهجمات من اليونايتد من امريكا. مثل ما بصير معانا هون في المواجهات بين الفلسطينيين واليهود، كانوا يطلقوا عليهم الرصاص. برضو كان في عندهم
اليهود الاحتلال، مش اليهود
الاحتلال. اوكي. فهي حبت تعمل هاي المشابهه بين كيف انه احنا بنتعرض لهذا الاضطهاد وهم برضه تعرضوا لهذا الاشي، وكيف انه في هاي المقاومه على انهم ما يفرجوا الوضع السياسي بالنسبه للامريكانز. وعلقت كيف انها هي حبت اكثر اشي بالمؤتمر الدسكشن تبع الطلاب، كيف هي سمعت منهم، كيف عرفت عن الخبرات تبعتهم، التجربات تبعتهم زي تجربات الناس في امريكا، وحست انه اللانجويج بارير هو اكثر اشي اللي كان بيوقف بين نعمل العلاقه بينهم وبين الامريكان، وكيف انه هو عباره عن اداه مهمه عشان نتواصل معهم. وكمان حكت انها هي عملت البرزنتيشن تبعها في العربي للي بيحب يعرف، لانها هي كثير حابه انه توصل هاي الفكره للطلاب، فاي حدا حابب يقرا الاشي في العربي يطلب منها نسخه. So thank you for that. Now we're going to move to our next speaker, which is from An-Najah University, and it is Dr. Sami Al-Kilani, and he's going to tell us about critical pedagogy at Palestinian universities, potentials and obstacles, the case of An-Najah National University.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference and welcome our guests, and special thanks to Rabab. Before I start this presentation, I want to talk about the context of this kind of presentation, which is very specific about a very specific aspect in our educational system. It may not be the focus of this conference, but it's very much related. I'm going to talk about emancipation, liberation as the title, as the subject of education. But before that, I want to say that education for us Palestinians is a tool, is a weapon for liberation, and we usually look for the full half of the cup, as we say, because this is the starting point to give hope to people. But at the same time, we must not forget the empty half of the cup if we have to be sincere to our goal and to our task. And the focus of this presentation may be about the empty half of the cup, that we have to take care about our own education, that it should be emancipatory education, because this is our duty. But before that, we have to highlight that we are Palestinians very concerned in education, because it was our social capital to keep our identity and to keep our struggle for our national cause. And this happened everywhere. In the refugee camps after the catastrophe, in tents, in yards, in every place, in our schools under occupation and before occupation, Israeli occupation at the Jordanian period in the West Bank, as well as under the Palestinian National Authority, plus that we had education and culture inside the prisons. Palestinian prisoners continued to be struggling on this front, the education front and the cultural front, in the most difficult times of detention and arrest. And this is, we are proud of that, which is the full half of the cup. And you are in a university, An-Najah University. I have been here since the establishment of this university, and the struggle that we had been through to maintain our independence, to protect our education system in the higher education is something that we are proud of. The Israeli occupation, I witnessed that, and we struggled for that, and me and many of our colleagues were detained and arrested for different periods, protecting our education against what was called Military Order 854, which aimed at giving full authority of what is called the Israeli military officer of education in the West Bank, to have full authority over our universities, our curriculum, the employment of staff, and there was a long struggle to protect our education against this intervention by the Israeli occupation authority. So, talking about the other half of the cup, what kind of education that we need, and this is what I'm trying to talk here. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. This is Mandela's quotation, and relating to Chile, I remember reading Pablo Neruda in our cells in prisons and making discussions about this international poet that we were inspired by his poetry. So the critical pedagogy is something not just a tool of education, it's a tool for liberation. liberation of the learner, liberation as a target for the people, and working on towards meaningful and emancipative education is something that we need, because we inherited a traditional education from different periods, and unfortunately we are still affected by this traditional education in the university education, and we have to admit that and to be frank saying about it in order to be able to change it. I adopt in social work, I'm a professor of social work and education. I adopt in both the human rights-based approach to education and social work, which is in parallel, and it goes with Paulo Freire pedagogy, and mainly I'm talking here about the critical pedagogy in our Palestinian universities, and An-Najah as a case. To make it as short as possible, this man, Paulo Freire, is aimed and started educating the poor and using education as a tool for liberation and emancipation. I tried to see how far we are in our programs, in our courses, in our community work, far from critical pedagogy and critical thinking. I can say that we have some initiative that can lead to this, but to be frank, we are a little bit far from going out of the box in our education, and we have to start as change agents. I consider myself as a teacher and a social worker, a change agent. If we don't carry this mission as change agents, I think a lot will be missing in our education and in our social work. The characteristics of the critical pedagogy can be seen on different levels, and distinguishing between banking education and problem-posing education, which is different from problem-solving, because in the traditional education, you may give learners a problem to solve. You invented the problem. But in this kind of education, we have to bring students, learners into the problem, and they have to think about it, about the curriculum, which has to be based on the needs and interests of the students, and about the role of teachers and the role of students, to have a learner-centered education that will make them creative thinkers, giving them the approach to deal with the problems in a creative way. What do we have in An-Najah University as an example of initiatives that can bring us to nearer and nearer to this kind of education? I have some examples of these initiatives that are capable of contributing to be part of our critical pedagogy. There are some courses in some centers at the universities. On community work, we established the Community Service Center of An-Najah, which based on the approach, on the human rights-based approach, which believes in participation and empowerment and advocacy as tools to work with people instead of working for people. So we have to work with people, not working for them. They are our partners. Those who are facing the problems should be part of solving the problem, not solving it in one step, but in thinking about the problem, building the strategy for the intervention, and be part of the solution, as well as have the agency of evaluation and telling us how they feel. So we believe that there is an equal importance on the output and the process, which can be applied to both social work and education, because sometimes we design the objectives without thinking about the students, and we want them to score. And this is inherited from the school system, that every student from grade 1 to 12 think about what kind of score we'll have in Tawjihi. So education for scoring is the model. So how can we, instead of that, give same weight to both the outcome, the result of education, as well as the process in education. And of course, we are not reinventing the wheel. We will be doing like others doing, but the difference is how and why. How we do it and why we do it. We respect the learner, we respect the beneficiary of our social work. So on both fields of social work and education, we have to care about the learner or the beneficiary. Other examples of our work, the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning and its component in community-based learning program that very much can be the closest maybe to critical pedagogy or to the approach. Other scientific research centers and social centers at An-Najah are making progress and success towards the system. We hear example about the traditional education from Paulo Freire lens point of view, that teachers teach and learners just receive. You know all about that. One of the problems that I consider as obstacle to doing that, the tendency of students towards practical skills that are given as is, which I call the recipe education. Students is willing to have a recipe, just a prescription, like a doctor's prescription, that you can achieve this target by doing 1, 2, 3, which kills the creativity for the students and negates the praxis as a principle of Paulo Freire, because the relation between practice and theory should be in a dialectical relation. The theory should be reflected on practice. Practice will feed back to the theory and develop it, and this continuous dialectical relation should be conserved through the education as well as social work processes. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for Dr. Sami. Dr. Sami kind of emphasized very important points regarding our university. دكتور سامي عقب على أكثر من نقطة مهمة بخصوص التعليم عندنا في جامعة النجاح، وأكد على كيف إنه التعليم هو عبارة عن أداة للتحرير، وكيف إنه إحنا بنستخدمه برضه كسلاح علشان نحرر مش بس فلسطين، كمان بالنسبة للعالم. أكد على ضرورة إنه إحنا نطلع من فكرة التعليم التقليدي، واللي هو التعليم اللي بس بيقتصر على الكتب، وإنه بس الطلاب ياخذوا ثيوري بس اللي هي النظرية، بس ما بيكون في عنا ولا تطبيق بعد هذا الإشي. فأكد على إنه ضرورة إحنا نفرجي كيف طلابنا أهمية التعليم اللي بيكون يكون دائر حولهم، مش بس بالنسبة للمعلم اللي بيجي بس بيحكي في المحاضرة والطلاب بالآخر ما بيعملوا إشي، أو بس كل تركيزهم بيكون على الامتحانات. وبنفس الفكرة كيف عندنا إحنا نظام التوجيهي، وكيف إنه هذا الإشي لازم يتغير، وكيف إنه المحاضرين أو المعلمين المفروض إنهم ينطلقوا للcritical thinking اللي هو التفكير التحليلي والتفكير اللي هو القائم على الإبداع. So thank you for that. Now we're going to move to our final speaker, which is also from our university, Dr. Suheil Salha, and he's going to talk about the level of common educational equality values of social studies textbooks for upper basic level.
Hello everybody.
Hello.
I would like to thank the organizer of this conference and for not consuming time, I will present some examples from our national curriculum, especially in the field of social studies. I'm not going to have a traditional presentation. I will with you and I will ask you some questions and then I'll present my presentation. You can look to the photo. It have two views. Anybody can share these two photos? It's about what? Equity and equality. Equity. There's no other concepts? It's توجيه exam. Equity and justice. Equity and justice. Which one is equity?
The one in the left.
The one on the left. Why it's equity?
Because all of them are standing on the same box, despite on the same box.
Yeah, but one of them can see.
Are you still
But one of them can see. There is a wall and one of them can see.
There is a wall and no one can see. They have the same level. The same level. And what about the other photo?
There's still a wall.
There's still a wall.
But there is more fairness.
But there's more fairness. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. This example was to discriminate between the two concepts, equity and justice. In all the documents, especially for Palestinians, the suitable word was not justice, was injustice. Even in the Palestine Declaration of Independence, there is no word justice. There is the word injustice. In history, we cannot connect between Palestine and justice. And I wonder how we are the victim of justice to teach our children the justice. Here are justice. Justice was one of the main principles of the Palestinian framework of curriculum. What is justice? It is the students' right to get a high-quality education that agrees with their interests and considers individual differences among them. To achieve that, Educators should have high expectations for all students and to provide opportunities for their learning. The students should get benefit from high quality educational resources. Educators should also focus on students with low ability and level and special needs, with low ability level and students with special needs. This is the definition of equality, of justice in the Palestinian curriculum. What's the justice from the word point of view? Justice from the word point of view have been defined in two aspects. It's fairness and inclusion. Equity, not justice. Equity, not justice, was defined as inclusion and fairness. What is inclusion? It means ensuring that all students reach at least a basic minimal level of skills, and equity as fairness implies that personal or socio-economic circumstances such as gender, ethnic origin, and family background are not obstacles to educational success. If we note the two definitions for the Palestinian curriculum and the word definition, it looks like the same. This is the introduction of the 5th grade in social studies. What was written there about justice? Because curriculum is an educational tool that improves the educational settings. It is the science and its concepts and rules. It is a complete plan that deals with all phases and aspects of education. It has a role in dealing with quality challenges and raising a generation that is capable of facing the knowledge requirements era, without being involved in scattering around globalization, looking for originality, belonging, moving toward active participation in a world that is more justice and humanistic, and living happily and comfortably in a country that all of us admire and respect. This is the introduction of the 5th grade of the social studies. Now, I pick some examples and want from you to differentiate between equity and justice in the same curriculum. Here are examples from what